Who would you be if you knew you couldn't fail? So often we unintentionally hold ourselves back from our true potential. We let doubt, fear, worry, overthinking, so many things, we let that get in our way and block us from experiencing the things that we actually want to experience in our lives. But if failure didn't exist, who would you be right now? What type of things would you be doing? Because you wouldn't be thinking of all the ways that something could go wrong. And that's something that we do almost on autopilot. We think of something that we want to achieve, or we think of a problem that needs to be solved. Anything that takes place in our lives, when we think about it, what happens? We start running all of the ways that it will not work out. And this is something that it took me years to really understand this. And when I understood it, I found it almost silly because I used to be a very chronic overthinker. And it would send me into these deep spirals to the point where I would get anxiety or even depressed over it. And when I think about it now, like I said, it's almost silly because why would I want to be thinking of all the ways something that I want is not going to work out? It kept me in states of anxiety, states of depression, and I felt trapped because I was focusing so much on negativity. I was focusing so much on limits. I was focusing so much on things that I didn't even want. When you are putting so much focus and attention and energy on the things that you don't want, or even things that you do want, right? But in this instance, when you're doing that, focusing on things that you don't want, you're watering a plant. When you water a plant and give it sunlight, you give it attention, it's going to grow. If you don't want the plant to grow, what do you have to do? Ignore it. You don't water it. You don't put it in sunlight. You don't give it your attention. You don't give it your energy. So when I came to that realization that if I really want to see changes in my life, I need to stop feeding the things that I don't want. If I don't want to experience anxiety, depression, if I want to actually start experiencing things that I truly want for myself, then I needed to stop focusing on the things that I didn't want. And the moment that I understood that, the moment that I shifted my mindset and I started looking at things in a different way, that is when I actually started to experience things that I wanted for myself. Things that I used to brush off in the past, things that I would self-sabotage in the past. I started to actually experience those things. I started calling in new opportunities. People would just call me and be like, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to go here? I have this opportunity for you. Do you want to take it? And the old me would have been like, oh no, I don't know how to do that. I'm not good enough for that. I'm not worthy enough for that. Am I gonna even, is that gonna work out for me? I don't think that I believe in myself enough to have that opportunity. So the old me used to decline so many things, so many opportunities, experiences. Because I was scared, because I was scared to fail. I would doubt myself. I didn't think I was worthy. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't have any sort of confidence whatsoever. But when I dropped that version of myself, when I just really kicked that version to the curb, she did not exist anymore. And I stepped into, like how I said at the beginning, my true or my highest potential. Knowing that I am worthy, knowing that I'm deserving of good things, good opportunities, good experiences, but actually believing in myself, and not just believing in myself, but knowing that I am good enough, knowing that I am worthy, and letting all of that old parts of me, the doubt, the stress, the worry, the anxiety, the fear, letting all of that go and just stepping fully into my most authentic self. And that is when I started to experience, like I said, new experiences or opportunities. But aside from all of that, aside from external things that I was experiencing, what I experienced internally was just pure joy. At first it was really hard for me because I'm like, Okay, this is weird. Just waking up and knowing that you expect greatness. Parts of my old self would tap in sometimes and be like, it's not that easy. There's got to be a catch. For every good thing, there's got to be a bad thing that happens, right? And I used to still catch myself with those little thoughts. And even today, I'll catch little things slipping in, like little bits of scarcity, or, I'll doubt myself sometimes. But the difference now is that I catch it. And the moment that I catch it with that self awareness, it instantly goes away because I don't give it a chance. I don't water it. I don't feed it. I do not pay attention to it. I return back to who I know that I am, right? I am limitless. I I don't outsource my energy. I don't fixate on things that don't serve me anymore. So when you do that, when you're able to really just focus inward on yourself, like I mentioned, you start to truly experience joy. And what happens at that point? Now that I wake up every day and I truly know and believe that it's going to be the best day ever, that I expect greatness, I experienced that. And even if something did pop up in my life that doesn't really, it's not favorable, it doesn't affect me in the way that it used to. There's still a life that we live. There are still unwanted things that pop up in our lives that we have to tend to. But the difference again is it's not letting those unwanted things affect you. If you don't entertain it, it cannot be. So, and that goes both ways. If you want something to happen for you, entertain it. But don't entertain it in the way that you're thinking of all the ways that it could possibly go wrong. Entertain it in the knowing that you're going to get that thing, that you're going to have that experience that you want, that you are limitless, that nothing can hold you back. You expect and experience greatness every single day. That's what you should be entertaining. Don't entertain anything that has to do with what you don't want. So again, if you knew that you could not fail, what would you go out and do today? Let me know in the comments. And these are things that I help my clients with, right, on a weekly basis. And it's so nice to see when it finally clicks and when they tell me, you know what, I experienced this last week, or this happened to me yesterday, or I tried doing what you said and certain things happened, right? I don't want to get into people's personal stories, but when they start experiencing things that they really want for themselves and they get so excited about it, and then what they tell me, the majority of the time, they'll tell me, that was so simple. And I'm just like, yes, it is that simple. A lot of the time we overcomplicate things because that's just how our brain works. Our brain wants, it's always in protective mode. It's always showing us what's familiar to us. It's always showing us what's safe. It's always trying to guide us in the path of, stick to this because we know what it's like. And that's why we experience loops over and over, because our brain protects us that way. But when you break that loop, you break that pattern, and you start telling yourself a different story and running a different narrative in your mind starts to take on that new narrative, that new story, that new mindset. And then it starts showing you things that align with that. That's when you start experiencing things that you actually want. If you want to work with me, I do have email mentorships available. The link is in the description. That does it for this one. I will see you again next time. I love you. Bye.